The United States military is indeed prepping for martial law. This, according to Newsweek magazine. In this video, we're going to take a look at a fascinating piece published by Newsweek on how the U.S. military looks like it's split over the prospect of Trump invoking such emergency powers, what each side is planning in the event that he does, and what some of the highest ranking officials in the Department of Defense are doing in the process. You are not going to want to miss this. Welcome everyone, Dr. Steve here with you, ready to bring you our latest episode, celebrating the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. I hope you all had a wonderful and are having a wonderful Christmastide. If you haven't already done so, make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a regular part of this channel, where each and every day we focus on optimism and encouragement in the midst of all the defeatist fake news nonsense spewed out by the mainstream media. Before we get into it, let's give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video, and that's the makers of the beautiful Fighter Flare flashlight. You're going to love this one. One of the best things that you can invest in for your protection when the lights go out is this 6-in-1 beauty, which comes with a 3000 mAh solar-powered recharging battery. It also comes equipped with a high and low beam light that you can see from miles away. It has an emergency strobe light. It has a compass. It's got a wire and rope cutter. It's got an emergency glass breaker hammer and a high-powered military-grade magnet. Man, what does it not have, right? It's absolutely amazing. And best of all, you get 20% off in celebration of Christmas. But supply is limited, so do not wait. Click on the link below and get your super awesome Fighter Flare flashlight today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. Now, the day before Christmas, Newsweek magazine published a fascinating article on how Pentagon and Washington area military leaders are on red alert, precisely because they're so concerned about the increasingly militant rhetoric coming from President Trump, a rhetoric that's actually being encouraged by a number of present and former officials in the military. And so what the article does is it highlights how the U.S. military is indeed currently going through its own conflict over the whole notion of martial law, where forces opposed to it are already in the process of putting together a kind of organized resistance against a presidential declaration of martial law. But on the other side, there are those seemingly preparing to fulfill the president's wishes. Either way, preparations are indeed being made as we speak. It's a fascinating article, and I wanted to share it with you here. Here's how the article begins. Pentagon and Washington area military leaders are on red alert, wary of what President Trump might do in his remaining days in office. Though far-fetched, ranking officers have discussed what they would do if the president declared martial law. And military commands responsible for Washington, D.C. are engaged in secret contingency planning in case the armed forces are called upon to maintain or restore civil order during the inauguration transition period. According to one officer who spoke to Newsweek on condition of anonymity, the planning is being kept out of sight of the White House and Trump loyalists in the Pentagon for fear that it would be shut down. A half dozen officers in similar positions agree that while there is zero chance that the uniformed leadership would involve itself in any scheme to create an election-related reversal, they worry that the military could get sucked into a crisis of Trump's making, particularly if the president tries to rally private militias and pro-Trump paramilitaries in an effort to disrupt the transition and bring violence to the Capitol. And then the article goes on to point out that because of the coronavirus, President Trump actually already has at his disposal unprecedented emergency powers. And while most military officers in the field don't believe that the military as a whole would back President Trump if he called for martial law, nevertheless, there are indeed enough military personnel who would back the president, which would, of course, change the equation dramatically were President Trump to go there, right? Since it would involve nothing less than a clash from within military ranks themselves. When Newsweek reporters asked the Pentagon to comment on whether they would comply with President Trump were he to invoke martial law, interestingly, the Pentagon refused to comment. They deferred instead to the White House, which also, interestingly, refused to comment. In fact, all throughout the article, which is painfully partisan, by the way, it interviews only military officials who were dead set against President Trump and they want to see him gone. But not a single one of them was willing to give their name. They were all interviewed under condition of anonymity because they openly said that they feared that if Trump got wind of their sentiments toward him and what they were planning, they'd be out of there. They'd be fired on the spot. And again, this is precisely because there are many in the military that are on Trump's side. The article went on to note that there's been a number of particularly ex-military officers publicly urging President Trump to declare martial law in an effort to right the wrongs of the voter fraud perpetrated November 3rd. General Mike Flynn being the primary one, Trump's former national security advisor. He's been perhaps most vocal in advocating precisely that. He tweeted out a full-page ad in the Washington Times from the We the People convention, which is drawing a comparison between Abraham Lincoln's attempt to save the Union in 1863 and Trump's attempt to vindicate electoral integrity in 2020. And in light of such a comparison, the We the People convention is calling on President Trump to, like Lincoln did, declare limited martial law, in this case to temporarily suspend the Constitution in order to hold a presidential election revote overseen by the military. Now, obviously, Flynn is not alone. A number of ex-military officers are advocating that Trump declare some kind of martial law in order to rectify the fraud that's effectively stealing the election and destroying any semblance of a future free and fair electoral process in the hearts and minds of tens of millions of Americans across the nation. And according to this Newsweek article, President Trump does indeed have several emergency powers already at his disposal to do just that. Now, before we get into that, I do want to personally invite you to our exclusive New Year's virtual conference on January 9th, 2021, to help you feel prepared for the year ahead. And we've got some great guests lined up. We've got Pennsylvania State Senator Doug Mastriano. He'll be with us. Senator Mastriano is the one who got the ball rolling by spearheading the Gettysburg hearings. He was recently at the White House, and he said President Trump is more determined than ever to win this. So Senator Mastriano will be with us, as well as Ian Smith, the New Jersey gym owner, defying their governor's tyrannical lockdown orders. And so we're bringing you the amazing patriots fighting on the front lines for you and for me. Now, seating for the conference is limited, and seats are going to go fast. And make it even better, you can save 30% off your registration as part of our New Year's special. So don't wait. Make sure to click on that link below, taking advantage of our New Year's registration special. And you'll be glad to know that a portion of the proceeds will go to Good Neighbors Home Repair. So not only are you going to be blessed by this virtual conference, but you're going to bless others with your registration as well. So don't wait. Click on that link below and register for our New Year's virtual conference today. All right, so going back to the article, quote, "The president indeed does have secret powers and has been fascinated with their existence. Military officers and National Security Council officials with direct knowledge of the early coronavirus deliberations at the White House say Trump was briefed by his national security team on a broad range of extraordinary powers available to him, including secret military plans to suppress civil disturbances in the national capital region and extraordinary powers contained in top secret continuity of government plans, both first revealed in Newsweek." And then they went on to get into what they call PEDS, which is Presidential Emergency Action Documents, which not only detail all the emergency powers that President Trump has at his disposal, but Newsweek also points out that they're always contained within the so-called football, which is the suitcase that holds the president's nuclear authenticators, and it's carried by military aides who are always with the president. So all the emergency powers that Trump has are only an arm's length away. Moreover, many of us may not realize, but President Trump has actually already invoked some of these emergency measures, particularly in Portland, Oregon, when federal agents over the summer took over law enforcement during the riots there, overriding any and all authority from Portland authorities because they concluded, that is, the Department of Homeland Security concluded, that the mayor there had lost control of the city, which necessitated federal intervention even without the state's permission. And so, regardless of whether military officials are opposed to or supportive of the president, regardless, everyone agrees that he may indeed invoke that precedent to act in a comparable manner again. Now, this article is fascinating on a number of levels. Obviously, on one level, you've got a major news source, Newsweek, reporting that there are military officials at the highest levels preparing for a kind of counter-martial law, a military organized resistance against the president, which the left-wing activists disguise as journalists over at the Newsweek. They're so happy about. They love the fact that the military is being politicized right along with every other area of life. The liberalization of the news media, our corporate wokeness, right? Big tech, woke sports like the NFL and the NBA, our universities, our education system. They love the fact that the military is now signing on to this cult of wokeness. But at another level, admittedly so, a level admitted by the woke warriors who published this Newsweek article, not everyone in the military is woke. We got a hint of this from Sidney Powell when she addressed the question as to whether servers used during the election were confiscated. In her words, either by the good guys or the bad guys, right? The ones in Germany, which at the time she didn't know. She's since confirmed that the good guys got them. The term she used was our forces got them, which is very interesting. There really seems to be a split emerging in the armed forces and the military ranks over those who are loyal to the president and those who are loyal to the swamp. A number of articles written of late have indeed pointed out that the Department of Justice has the Department of Defense has been filled with Trump loyalists, particularly the Secretary of Defense, who recently transferred special forces away from military leadership and put them under his civilian leadership. Politico ended up reporting on this. Very, very interesting stuff for sure. So again, whether they're with him or against him, Newsweek makes it clear that the U.S. military does appear to be gearing up for something in response to President Trump over the next few weeks. And I have a feeling we'll find out just what it is in the days ahead. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you'll definitely want to check out my latest video. I just put it up on the role of Vice President Pence in all of this, and how what's being called the Pence card may indeed be key to the securing of Trump's reelection. You're not going to want to miss that. So make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.